Well, I'll tell you this for free. Yeah, I had to take a moment to soak it in. This particular conversation is one that we have all looked forward to, particularly because it seems unending. To Japa or not to, or in simple English, to relocate out of Nigeria or not to. So this morning we are dealing with that very thorny issue, very controversial. Yes, it's been a very, very heated debate on and off social media, but we're tackling it this morning. We're not afraid to take on issues here on the Morning Brief. So let's meet our guests. What we're having this morning is a round table. So we have people who have Japad, essentially, who have excelled in that, the bid to Japa, which some have called the Nigerian dream. That's debatable again. And then we have people who have said, well, I'm staying back here in Nigeria because great things are happening here in Nigeria. Nigeria is a beautiful nation and we'll ensure we stay back to make it work. So let us meet our panel this morning. We have joining us from Canada, JJ Okonkwo. Well, a lot of people know him as JJ the Jocular Okonkwo, who's a media healthcare professional, a tech bro, and also, according to him, a Japa consultant. Joins us this morning from Canada. It's good to have you on the show. Also, Adeyemi Adeoye joins us from the United States. He is an energy affairs analyst. So two of them have been able to perfect their Japa plans and they're living that life. But here in Nigeria, we have a lady and a gentleman. Both of them are back home and they're doing great as well. Right here in our Lagos studio is Temitope Tamkwe-Ajayi, who is an actor, a producer, and a host. It's good to have you on the show.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. And in our Abuja studio is Aliyu Audu. He's a special assistant to the President on Public Affairs, obviously not Jack Bine. Good morning, Mr. Audu. It's good to have you on the Morning Brief, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you for having me. Happy New Year, Nigerians.
So let's just get started. I'll give each of us just a minute to speak to particularly why you're sticking to your decision to either Japa or not to. What has motivated you? Bukola called it the pull and the push effect. So I'm going to begin with the lady, of course, the gentleman, right? So, Tokwe.
Yes, please.
What is your decision? I don't want to preempt you. I know what it is, but what is it and what motivates that decision?
Okay, to be honest, I'm very indifferent about Japan. Not like if the opportunity comes, I would not take it. But I'm not actively searching or I'm not desperate to find every given opportunity. You know, we find out that a lot of people don't even have their facts right. The average Nigerian just wants to move just because that's what's raining, not because, you know, maybe they're earning a fair income or they're probably not doing so great and they just feel, you know, I want to move because I want to earn in dollars. But people forget that you can actually be here and earn in foreign currencies. You necessarily do not have to travel to be able to earn in dollars or even in pounds. But for me, I would say that my money is here. When dollar wasn't even that inflated, when the naira to dollar wasn't as bad as it is now, I wasn't even earning as much. And now that it's absorbed, when it was 500 or 700, we thought the world was going to come to an end. Now that it's over 1,000, I'm still earning more than, I'm cutting checks day in, day out. And I'm grateful for that. But that doesn't mean there are no better opportunities out there, but I'm saying that there's still a lot to milk here in Nigeria. And I would rather milk it, be grounded in my field before I can consider moving out there, because then I have something to show. I have a great resume. I have something that I have worked for and something that I can show. So basically, that's my...
Japa, if you can allow me to maybe counter you just a little bit.
Yeah.
You work in an industry that is thriving, not just thriving, that has the opportunity for alternative sources of revenue besides what you earn.
Absolutely.
From being the main character or a supporting character in the movie. There are opportunities for endorsement.
Yes,
there are opportunities, for other creative aspects of the work.
Yes.
So would it be unfair to others who do not have that expansive room for expression in terms of their talent? Maybe that's why they would rather Japa.
Okay, so everyone is a talent, regardless of the field that you find yourself in. We're all talents. We have a mind that works. I believe strongly in, additional skills. If you find yourself in any field, are you taking courses to upgrade yourself as opposed to sticking to where you think you belong and complaining? No one will give you a chance. You literally have to take chances, and that applies to every field. So in as much as, yes, the entertainment industry is thriving and we're thankful for that, but wherever you find yourself, research. What can I do to be better? What can I study to know more? What can I do? Information is everywhere. And like I said, you can earn while you're here. There are lots of remote jobs. An average Nigerian is literally on their phone, pressing it on social media, doing absolutely nothing. That doesn't say, there are lots of people that are not making money off their phones. But then again, there are lots of remote, just research, web designing, graphics designing, there's this other course, I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's customer care representatives. Yeah. A lot of people are awake all night, literally doing nothing. Not a lot of people. I don't have my facts right, but then again, I'm just saying there are opportunities out there. Take chances.
Maybe we'll go to Aldo. You said everybody should take turns.
So I think we should sandwich it. Let's put Aldo for the last. Let's take Adeyemi,
okay,
JJ, and then we'll come to Aldo. So Adeyemi, let me come to you. Your decision, and then why you made that decision to relocate. So you tell us. Then we'll go to JJ before we go to Aldo. Go ahead, please, Adeyemi.
Okay, first off, good morning, Nigerians, and congratulations on your new show. And basically, me, I've been out here for a while, so my story is a little bit different from, the regular. I've been working in Nigeria and living here, having my shuttles back forth for, say, a decade now. So I just decided to close down my activities. Basically for family reasons. My kids are growing and I need to give them more attention. So speaking specifically to the Japa thing, I think it really became a thing under the last government. That should be in the last, say, 5 to 8 years thereabout. We started seeing professionals, emigrating, leaving Nigeria. Then it got to a head about 2-3 years ago, when all manner of people from professionals and, the likes started doing the same thing, abandoning whatever it was they were doing and leaving the country. And of course, when you trace this, there's no other reason than the economy. Yeah, inflation is at double digit, unemployment double digit. When you look at all these parameters, so to bring it home, if what is happening in Nigeria or what has happened in Nigeria in the last 5 to 8 years, if it happens in America, Canada, or wherever, they would also jump to Africa or wherever they can find, not just some respite. Not like people are not trying to want to be billionaires or millionaires. They just want to have a life. They want to have a life or a semblance of a life. So basically that has been, I've met a cross-section of Nigerians, many of them professionals, while out here. And the reason they left, they were professionals in Nigeria, they were working as well. The reason they left is just to have a life, Everybody's story is different, definitely. Some people left for health reasons, some left for different challenges, some left because the business environment was not friendly, and things started happening, things started going south business-wise.
Right.
So you need to take people's story,
case by case.
You can't take it holistically. You got to take it one by one. So everybody has a story, why they left, and why they took that decision.
Yeah. Absolutely. So made a very important point, case by case. So let's check out JJ's case. JJ, you're in Canada. What motivated you to go to Canada? Why not Nigeria for you?
Happy New Year, Africa. I would always like to say that a cool new budget should be, yes, so. But trust me, even Nigeria as a whole, budget. I like to break it down from the perspective of an average Nigerian. I was a professional living at Lekki and I worked at VI. At some point I was working at Tikeja, but let's break it down to VI. You need to wake up at 4:30 to get ready to hit that road, because by the time you get to the road, there are probably 200 people and 3,000 vehicles. I don't know how that happens. Or maybe the inverse of that, there is traffic right there, which is probably taking 2 hours to get to VI. The roads are bad, very bad. There is Agbero doing their own. The bus drivers are driving recklessly and ridiculously. You have the law enforcement officers who are also there, who are probably just a little above normal, you know, and somebody from the behind or maybe in front or by the side decides to hit you. There are pedestrians moving all around. We just talked about dumping, you know, 1 or 2 things, feces and, you know, dumping refuse on the street. That is a norm. People dump it on a regular. And then you manage to get to your office. Your boss is triggered. Of course, you need to take some time to reload yourself and reboot to get into the mood to work, to deliver optimally. And then your colleagues are also hyper because they experience the same thing. And you manage to wrap up work with that day, and you decide to get back home. You face 3 hours of traffic to probably get to Chevron. And then you get back home, there is a neighbor right there who decides to jam up a Burna Boy Davido because, oh, he's so high that day, and he decides to, you know, exhibit his Afrobeat in him. What happens? You decide to sleep at night. NEPA wakes you up. Oh, all right, you can't sleep because there is no power. What then happens? Because your environment is so polluted, dirty, there are mosquitoes breeding double quick time, reproducing every day. So that on its own is on you. Can you sleep that night? Absolutely not. So this is the regular everyday lifestyle of the average Nigerian and more. How do you expect somebody to survive in such an environment? So I will say this, the quest for decency, for a very normal lifestyle, which is not exorbitant. It's not something far-fetched. It shouldn't be. But hey, to Nigerians, it's a gold mine. That's why.
All right, let's bring it home. And I'm happy that JJ spoke before Audu. So Audu, this is clearly him. This is his definition of Nigeria and the reason why he left. So yes, Audu, you're the federal government in this case, because so I'm sure with federal government job you don't want to go anywhere. But 2 ways. First, why are you staying, and what's your response to him as the federal government, because you work with the presidency?
All right. Good morning. First thing first, I decided to stay because I'm very Nigerian and I'm very African, and I understand that. I mean, if we don't build the country we want, nobody will build it for us. We can complain all we want. You know, our education system, our socio-economic system, even our religious system, you know, have been predefined that we can never see the best in ourselves. We can't. We can't play on someone else's terms, rules of engagement, tough, and expect to win, especially in game designed by them. So at some point, as Africans, you know, we are going to have to look back and ask ourselves, you know, what is my essence of existence? You know, what matters to me? Americans will tell you freedom. You know, everything they do, the system does to give individuals freedom on every level. It has positive and negative side, but what's ours? And when you look at Nigerians, basically over the years, I think because of the earlier, you know, years of colonization and everything, and the inheritance of those colonization by the elite, you know, who have replaced the colonial master tactfully. It's all every Nigerian just wants to do is to matter. That's what we want to do. We want to matter. And to matter, you have to be alive. You have to be able to feed. You have to have a roof over your head. You have to be educated. You know, you have to have adequate, access to good health care at like somebody said, at reasonable cost, not asking for too much. But we don't have this. We haven't had this. We can blame government before the then the ones before then, or even the military then. We at some point will have to stop, you know, and look at, you know, how we were before colonization and what colonization was like, and how we were supposed to survive or come back from that impact of colonization, now neocolonization. And the truth is, these the Westerners have, edge over us. They had head start over us in terms of technological advancement. I mean, in different series. I mean, the whole exploration that led to coming to discover Africa and seeing all we have, and looking at everything as within their knowledge at the time, they realized our most precious asset were the people. So who did they take? The middle class, the working class. So it's that. If we blame Japa on the last government or government before them, who do we blame those ones on? I mean, we have the middle class from time, the workforce who were forcefully taken, then the ones who were brainwashed either through religion or through whatever it is, and decide to seek. I mean, how do you think it is closer to speak to God outside of where God has created you? I don't get it. But I mean, it is clearly an agenda by those who did certain things, and they put everything in place. We will always desire what they have put in our education system. What we are fed on as to what the ideal life is. But if I graduated 2003 from Computer Science, University of Ilorin, I was fortunate enough to work with multinational. At the time I graduated, the best job available was 150,000, especially if you are lucky or good enough to have made second class upper or thereabout. If all around the test centers, all of the exam centers in Lagos that we went for jobs, I mean, there were tons of people with 2-1 and first class. Tons of people. I'm talking 2004, 2005. Banks were paying 150,000 average per month. 1.8 was annual. I mean, it was a big deal to get that. So what happened? How did we get to this place? You see, we have an elite system who aren't conscious of their existence or their purpose of existence, and that has, now taken into gutters the earlier vision and the hard work of our founding forefathers who fought for our independence. They went abroad for education, not most tactically against their will, but they came back, established it, but they realized that they were getting way less than they deserve, just like we all believe right now. Every Nigerian right now believes we deserve more than we are getting. That was what our forefathers realized. They were established people in their own right. They were even better than the Europeans whom they studied in their territory. That's how blessed we are as Nigerians, as Africans, Nigerians especially. And they realized that that's how they put their differences aside, worked for our independence with a vision to create one of the most prosperous, united, diverse nations on earth. It is our responsibility now. We can all run. Those who have gone, it is natural. You will go seek greener pasture. You will go to where,
Mr. Audu, if I may button.
At some point realize.
Yeah, if I may button. I know there's a lot for you to talk about, and we're going to get even deeper in the conversation, but we're due for a break. So we'll go on this break. When we come back, we're going to expand the conversation. He's mentioned a few things. Does neocolonialism have a role to play in all of this? They will expatiate and maybe give us their perspective as well. But for now, we'll go on this quick break. When we come back, join us again on The Morning Brief. Welcome back. It's still The Morning Brief. We are talking Japa or not to Japa. We have an entire team right here in the studio, as well as virtually and in our Abuja studio. So we've been talking with all of them on whether or not, well, the ones that are in Nigeria are saying, we're here, we ain't going nowhere. And the ones abroad say, well, these are reasons for going abroad and staying there. So let me get back to Mr. Audu, who is a special assistant to the President on Public Affairs. I did say that how much of neocolonialism does this how much of neocolonialism impacts the decision for people to move abroad? Look at what happened recently with the certificate from Togo and Benin, because there's this perception that education outside there is better than ours. So, in fact, if you go to work, you said you graduated in 2003. Perhaps if you had brought in a certificate from, say, the UK, and somebody who went to Unilorin with due respect, maybe they will look at the person from the UK for whatever reason. It's one of those factors. So how much of neocolonialism plays a role in people leaving the country?
Yes, it plays a significant role because it is, a subtle replacement of colonization. What successfully they've done is to get into our head and get us to enslave ourselves mentally, and to their products and services and environments, and make us crave for it, even if we steal everything. We ought to give ourselves what we deserve to store in their place. You know, that's the elite, those in the private and the public sector, definitely. And you did say something in comparison, in terms of the output. I have been in the labor force for nearly 2 decades. You know, I worked at the highest level, the fastest industry, multinational. I worked with MTN for 10 years in Nigeria and in Accra. And I'll tell you, from 2005 that I joined MTN, the best of every unit in MTN were Nigerians who were educated and schooled here. But the shocking thing is, about 80% of those people are not here today. They have all left.
Okay,
because they have to leave. You know.
Pardon me. So we needed you to do a lot of heavy lifting to respond to Adeyemi and JJ as well. That's why we essentially stayed longer to get your response to some of the issues they've raised. But you've raised another issue which is quite important. So let's find out if JJ is one of those that was a high flyer in Nigeria at that point and has since moved on. JJ, neocolonialism has come up, and I know you've probably heard that time and again in the conversation. Do you feel that you fell for that trap as well? Because some say, why didn't you stay back to fix the Nigeria so you can be the nation you're proud of?
I don't blame anybody for not laying my bed. That's the truth about it. You don't blame neocolonialism, whatever you call it, and say that because these third world countries had the first head start. Does that affect the fact that, how does that influence the fact that you can provide common security for your people? How does that affect the fact that you cannot refine crude oil in your country? How does that also say that, you can't provide power? Because there are certain people we know that are going to live off these dysfunctional systems. Do you blame the white man for that? You should blame yourself. I mean, elections held, and we saw what happened. A lot of persons were, rigging here and there, so they say, but there is no proof so far that these elections were free and fair. I mean, from the best of my knowledge. So look at that. You don't blame the white man. I don't like it when we talk about we speak beyond the norm. It is very simple. We have failed ourselves and we keep failing ourselves. Look at the politicians, the men in power, broad daylight embezzlement. How does neocolonialism or the Head Start affect the fact that we should prosecute these people rather than chasing the Yahoo boys? I'm not saying you shouldn't chase the Yahoo boys, but I'm saying they're all the same. So who should be blamed? Should we blame ourselves or should we blame those people? How many years should it take us to get certain things right? To provide common hospital. You still see how politicians travel out. I mean, it's a very big shame that a hospital cannot handle even a governor in our country. Not one hospital. Come on now. Let me speak in like a real Nigerian. It's madness, really. So I don't think we should put blames on anybody. We should blame ourselves. And the fact that I couldn't change a lot of all these things, that's the reason I went, and I'm still here, to see how things are done right. try to reposition my mindset, to relocate my mental faculty, because that's what we need as Nigerians. If we understand that we are all deprived mentally, and we need to fix things the way it is right here in Canada and US and other parts of the world, the third world countries, and make it happen in our own country, then we have a head start. That's right.
Thank you very much, JJ. It's good to know that you can still speak like a Nigerian and you have not resorted to using a lot of the R's. Like some Nigerians who have not necessarily lost their accent, but they have become Americans in 24 hours. Let's bring it back home now to Tope. I'm curious to know if some of these reasons resonate with you, particularly from JJ and from Mr. Adeyemi, who is in Canada. Do they resonate with you? And does it still make you feel indifferent about whether or not to Japa?
I'm still very indifferent. I resonate with them because, I mean, truths are being told, right? But we also cannot take out the fact that our colonial masters fed us information that they wanted us to have. When they came back in the, I mean, they ruled us for about 100 years before we gained our independence, right? And it's what they want. It's what they wanted you to think that they pumped into our minds. They went into different villages and, you know, showing the average Nigerian, or basically every Nigerian that cared to watch pictures, videos of the Queen. Everyone wanted to be like them. Yes, they brought in good stuff. They brought in good ideas, good know-hows and whatnot. But we cannot rule out the fact that, you know, the ills that you're running away from here, what are the chances that you're not going to battle with that? Insecurity. There are 7 times more chances of a Nigerian getting shot or a black man getting shot in the US, in any city in the US, than in Lagos. Lagos as a case study. Find the health sector is amazing. You have your reasons. To each malam is kettle. Right? If it's health reasons, I understand that the health sector, to be honest, it's not the greatest. If our politicians cannot get treated here, why? You can as well stay here and get your treatment. Because then I read in the news about, you know, one of the politicians asking doctors to come back to Nigeria. If you want doctors, nurses, and health practitioners to come back, then you can as well, you know, get your necessary treatment here in Nigeria. That I agree with. But holistically, we are the problems, including you that traveled. What did you do differently when you were here? We see regular Nigerians littering the roads. We see regular Nigerians taking bribes, even in office settings. What is your conduct? What is your how do you relate with people? What is your, you know, it's very holistic, to be honest. But I would say that the problem starts with us, because every governing official was a citizen and rose up the ranks and started to make decisions. If you get there, what change would you make? And it starts in our offices, at home, in your church. What are the basic decisions that you make? Do you make life difficult for your neighbor? Do you just want to laud yourself just because you're in a position of authority and you think you can take advantage of people? So I think the problem realistically starts with us. Mm. And the moment we start to be accountable, you take responsibility for your actions, the better for every average Nigerian. Mm. So even if you travel, it's still the same thing. What you would take your bad habit, literally, and just dump
you're
it.
making points, you know, that are challenging Nigerians right now and making us uncomfortable in our seats, which is why I'm going to ask you, what are you doing differently?
Okay, so in my tiny space, in my little bubble, that's a very tricky question, so thank you very much. Let me think about it.
You want to go to Adeyemi?
I want to go to Adeyemi.
Okay.
Adeyemi, you know, we say often that the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side. And we hear of stories of Nigerians who are washing corpses, professionals who are working as janitors or waiters in restaurants. And why, you know, does this category of professions or jobs, why is it a better resort to Nigerians than the white and blue collar jobs that they had back home before they jackpot or migrated?
Okay, first off, I think it's important for us to note that what JJ said earlier is crucial. If we want to move Nigeria forward, and I think that is what this roundtable is about, we should just quit the blame game on anybody and look inward on ourselves, from government to the citizens. When I say government, I mean from leadership to followership. We need to look inward. Forget about neocolonialism and all of that. It has a space, but it is not the reason for the current emigration you're seeing, the mass emigration you've been seeing in the last 5 to 10 years. Now, look, take it or leave it, the advent of social media in our lives is a contributory factor. Things that people don't get to see and know about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, with the touch of a button, they can see it. Yeah, I have people who applied for jobs, professionals in Nigeria who applied for jobs from Lagos, from Port Harcourt, from Kaduna, and they got jobs abroad. And they were asked to go process their visa and come over to work professionally. Yeah, so if they can sit in the confines of their homes in Lagos or Kaduna, wherever it is, and they can, with a touch of a button, see these jobs abroad. I'm talking professional jobs now, especially in the medical field, right? And they compare and contrast, and they see that the same output they are giving in Nigeria will be better rewarded abroad. They don't need a white person or whatever the color is to come tell them about it. We are in the age of social media. Everything happens on the cyberspace. People can get information without even seeking for it, right? So that is a factor, not neocolonialism. I beg to differ. Now, coming to the issue of the pasture, how greener it is or not. Truth is, it is indeed greener. It all depends on why you left. The problem we're kind of having now is we have people leaving for no reason, right? Somebody said earlier, I don't know who said it, that, people just leave because they see other people leaving. Yeah, that is where we have a problem. But if you have a purpose, maybe you want to go further your education. It could be your PhD, it could be your master's or whatever. Yeah, if you want to go do those things, there's a very, very good chance that you will prosper, you will do well. And I need to say this, the only problem that people get to, feel here that is not being talked about is the mental transition for those who have chosen to stay abroad, whether you're in Europe, Canada, or in the United States. There's a mental transition, and it takes anything between 3 to 4 years for you to transit mentally, to settle down mentally and emotionally, especially if you're probably from the middle class up. If you're doing relatively well in Nigeria, or you're relatively okay in Nigeria, and you probably left because you are under-remunerated, or you just have a general negative environment, and you have your personal issues that is moving you. It could be your health, it could be your business, it could be anything. Now, if you get to your destination, the mental transition stage is what I believe you're referring to, where some people have to hit they have to start from ground zero, they have to hit rock bottom and start afresh. At that level, whatever job you can get to do, yes, you have to do, because abroad we say that you are one paycheck away from homelessness. You can't afford not to have a job. Even whoever it is that is housing you when you arrive can only do that for a period of time, right? So you need to get your acts together. There is no free meal abroad, like they say, there's no free meal in Freetown. Here, you don't work, you don't leave. We say generally here that back in Africa, we leave so we can work. But when you go abroad, you work so you can leave. The moment you stop working, you die. That is the way it is. Now, that is not to say, it's a labor camp or whatever. Yes, there are people without professional qualification who work in the blue collar, or the brown collar, echelon. Yes, those people exist. But I would say this, a lot of Nigerians are one of the most educated immigrant society or immigrant community in the United States. I think the only community that is at par or higher than Nigeria in that regard will probably be the Indian community. So Nigerians too, when they come out here, there's this push like you want to use the opportunity here to, get better education and struggle to get into that upper white collar class kind of job. So that is the point really.
Right.
It's greener, if you have a purpose.
Okay.
But it's not going to happen immediately.
All right.
You're going to work it up. And that is something that a lot of Nigerians were not used to. We think we just hit the ground, we start making money, we start sending back. No, it's a transitional period.
Very important point to make there, Adeyemi. And just quickly before I come to Aliyu in our Abuja studio, I want to ask both of you, JJ and Adeyemi, just quickly, because I heard Adeyemi saying he traveled, part of the reasons he traveled or relocated was to get a reorientation, to relocate his mental state, if I got that correctly. I'd like to ask you, Adeyemi, do you someday plan to Japa, as I say, come back to Nigeria?
I'll be in Nigeria this year. I'll be in Nigeria this year.
Okay, is it in and out or coming back permanently?
So yeah, I honestly have the plans to come back. Look, okay. Fantastic question.
Wait. Adeyemi, so because
let me just answer that question.
Okay, you can quickly, if you can do that in 10 seconds.
Okay, what I just wanted to say, I would want to come back.
Okay.
And the reason I would want to come back is the reason a lot of Nigerian professionals will come back.
Right.
All we need to see is a working society, working government, working environment. Nobody needs to preach to anybody. We will all come back.
Okay, JJ, quickly, are you coming back? Do you plan to? Because you said you wanted to relocate your mindset.
Yeah, okay, first of all, I like to train my children in Nigeria, no doubt. But then ultimately, if I have to come back to Nigeria, that would be when our politicians stop traveling abroad to get common health care.
Fantastic point you made there, JJ. So let's take it to Aliyu. Aliyu is a politician, he's a young person. Everything packed together. Is also the assistant to the president. Aliyu, they've said that the grass is green on the other side. Do we have plans to make our own grass
as green as
possible? And is there any promise from this government? Is there a time frame to when you can boldly say young Nigerians or people who want to relocate at this certain time, there will be no need to relocate anymore? Does the Tinubu government have that in mind? I know we're winding down. This is just the first episode of our Japa series, but let's speak to that as we wind down, Aliyu.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, the entire story of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that of a child who japad, acquired the best of what out there has got to offer, and he's been back home. Not just back home to build on what is globally acceptable, fight for what is globally acceptable, persecuted by those who were against it. I mean, I'm talking about democracy, and he's risen through the ranks, and he's now #1 citizen of the country, and by every standard, the most. They are about the closest to a perfect model for democracy globally as it is in terms of leadership. And everything, he knows what these challenges are. That's why many of us who understand this stand with him and are always with him and understand his vision. And every plan he's had is about human capital development. There is no one in the record of our 24 years of democracy who has a better record. There's no one who has better plan. There's no one who has better vision. And he's in position now, and rightly, as a sign of hope to those who are out there. It's when they say they want a working country, what working country means, it's actually laws, enabling laws, enabling framework, enabling environment for a society to thrive, and the elite in this case will have to take it up from there and decide if I was saying something. I think my brothers out there got me wrong. I would never for any reason try to blame or judge anyone who leaves. Everyone desires a place to thrive, and if you don't have that, if you can't make thriving out of the challenges you have, then you're going to have to go to where you can be better so that they can come back and add value. Like the president we have now, he's back adding value, and I expect all of them will be back at the right time adding value, but we have to build it. But what I need to quickly make us understand on the part of this government is the loss has been made so far, the steps being taken so far, we can tell are the right ones to create an environment, but we all have to join the government. It is not a responsibility for the government alone, like the presenter.
All right, I'll leave you. So this is what we'll do. I know there's a lot to talk about. We're barely scratching the surface, and we appreciate that. So we'll have a part 2 of this in the coming days, because there's so much to unpack. So essentially scratching the surface, we'll raise the issues in the coming days, but we'd like to thank you so much. Some will say you're even saying the president's story lends credence to Japa. Ali Aldu, Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. We'd like to thank you so much. We'll have this conversation in the coming days, and we'll hope to see you as well. Adeyemi Adeoye, Energy Affairs Analyst, joining us from the US. Thank you for staying up. We know that, yeah, it's quite tough. As well as JJ, the Jokola Okonkwo, media healthcare professional, tech bro, and Japa consultant, joining us from Canada. Thank you. As well as Temitope Tampeaji, actor, producer, host, indifferent about Japa.
Somewhere in between all of that.
Thank you so much for your time. We'll have this conversation again. I hope to have you soon. Well,